Hey everybody, what is going on? Juan here. Still not 100% post-Hurricane Maria. Still don't have electricity, but Nicole's parents do. So I was able to move on most of my equipment here. I'm just standing in the living room while they're out. Just figured, hey, I truly love producing content for all of you. That's why I went over to social media and I asked you, what would you like me to talk about? Because as things are getting a little bit better, I do have access to data. I have been playing some games, including Super Mario Odyssey, which I will be talking about as well down the line. But because of all of this, what should we talk about? And that led to an awesome question from one of my great friends, Sparrowwolf, who wrote, how useful and relevant portable devices are to deliver entertainment whenever, for whatever reason, phone shut off, you cannot access your regular resources. So he suggested that as a topic, that basically what happens when your PlayStation 4, your PC, your Mac, your PlayStation 2, doesn't matter whether you're a modern or a retro gamer or even a handheld gamer, when it comes to smartphones, because even this is like, you use this for calling, for WhatsApp, but I also have a copy of Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions installed in this. But that was not my primary source, because the moment that the power went out in Puerto Rico, my phone was only for texting my loved ones, because we couldn't even call people at that time, right? So what happens when all of a sudden you need to look for gaming devices, you need to look for anything else as a means to be able to entertain yourself throughout that time? This actually brings me back to a topic that Giant Bomb mentioned on their podcast about a year ago. Great website, and they were talking about that because a smartphone has the capability to play your Candy Crush and do your taxes, maybe even at the same time, you don't see people really holding DSs anymore. As a matter of fact, I've seen a lot of kids, even recently, especially during this time, where they're playing Game Boy Advance games, but they're doing so on an emulator, not necessarily an actual handheld device, right? But that's now. What happens when things first started happening, that's when you all of a sudden learn to really appreciate, like, why do I have a DS whose only purpose is to play games when I can do that here? It's because of that, because at least for me, and this is going all the way back to when I first got a smartphone is for phone calls and texting and a little bit of everything else, because I use it for work. So ideally, I would play a lot of games here and not carry a Vita, which I had for a while, or my 3DS, or even the Nintendo Switch, right? But why do that and risk losing battery life when I can take the Switch and I can charge that on my car? I can figure out different ways to really be able to survive. This is when you really maximize your resources, whether back in the day, it was using AAA batteries, AA batteries, but now all of these things are rechargeable. So that's really good, because you can use that for your car, but at the same time, you can stock up on AAA, AA batteries, right, and get the job done. We have a friend here in Puerto Rico. His name is Vidium. He has a gaming podcast in Spanish. He is a big-time retro gamer, and we were able to sort of keep in touch through WhatsApp, on a very limited basis to this day still. But one thing I poked fun at him, even though looking back, it's awesome. He has this great Game Boy collection. So he actually brought out his original Game Boy with the batteries and all of the games, and he was doing this summer backlog challenge. So he actually took advantage of the fact that he didn't have a computer or a traditional, gaming console, and then just used the Game Boy as a way to entertain himself throughout that time. I remember way back in the day, this must have been like 10, 12 years ago, I didn't have a Game Boy, I didn't have a Game Boy Pocket, I didn't have a Game Boy Color. I think we were about to reach like Game Boy Advance era, and little me was stupid and was thinking to himself, like, I don't need these dumb, earlier handheld gaming devices, so I traded them all in. But then my mom and I had to take like an 8-hour trip to the U.S. I think it was to Denver, Colorado, or someplace else. And the whole time I'm like, that is a bad idea, because the Game Boy Advance is not out yet. So I went to a GameStop, and then, at least the handheld prices were not too bad. I remember buying a Game Boy Pocket, which I had never actually owned. I had a Game Boy and had a Game Boy Color, but I never had the sandwich mixture right there in the middle. Don't know why I really went with that. Let's just go along with it. And I got a copy of Pokemon Blue because little me traded all of his games, and one of my friends lost my copy of Blue. The point is that whenever the moment strikes, it is just so sweet, right? There's a local game shop here that all of a sudden on Facebook said, we're putting 15% off a discount on all handheld games, or all games as a whole. But then when we went, you saw everybody just buying DS games, 3DS games, Vita games like crazy. Vita, admittedly, it was like 2 people, but I guarantee you most of those people were kind of like me, where they had those handheld devices stored somewhere. We knew the hurricane was going to strike, so we charged it just in case, and now all of a sudden, we don't have access to TV. Maybe you get electricity, but you don't have dish or cable provider that's currently in service, and all of a sudden, it's like, holy crap, this little thing can entertain my child, it can entertain me, and going back now, as things are normalizing, I'm definitely already using it less because I got Super Mario Odyssey, and the Nintendo Switch, if anything, it's like the sweetest thing ever right now that's happening here. But the point of this video, and to conclude now, is that handheld devices and dedicated portable devices that can somehow replace your traditional things. We didn't even get to talking about CD players here, right? Or cassette players where you have a CD that you listen to. I actually talk about music appreciation in a previous video on the channel, so if you haven't, definitely take a look at that. And I'd love to know, what do you think about this topic? Like, do you think in 2017 and 2018, is there a place for dedicated, portable devices that don't let us just completely be consumed by something like a smartphone? That what happens if I lose this? Not only by that account would I lose my contacts. I know there's cloud saves and cloud storage, but say you're using like an emulator, right? Because it's just more accessible. Maybe that doesn't have cloud storage, so not only will you use your phone and maybe some very sensitive information, but you would have to start a game over. Imagine having to start over like a Final Fantasy game or something that's really, really extensive. I would definitely love to know your thoughts about this topic right here. If you like this video, definitely like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for all of my upcoming videos. As things become a little bit more normal, you'll see that the format of these videos I will continue to change. This is a very, very temporary setup just to get the job done, just so I can really reach out to all of you. My apologies if I don't comment on time. Download is a lot better than upload sometimes on my phone. So like, I have no problem watching YouTube videos at 240p. Yes, 240p to 480p. Sometimes I can get fancy, but the comments barely load, so I can only really check those out whenever I have better data. But we're going to get through this. We're going to get by this. So thank you for watching, and until next time, definitely forget. I don't want you to forget this. I want you to remember that the epic journey definitely continues. Thanks for watching, gang. Take care.